But I just want people to understand that if you don't know how to get access, don't say there is no access. If you don't know how, then please reach out and ask because I would love to try to figure it out if this is something that you feel is necessary. If you don't feel it's necessary, then I'm really not talking to you. And great, it's amazing. It's not a conversation to go back and forth. And we're not talking about politics in terms of yes, no, should you go. That's not where I'm at. Welcome to Black Girl from Eugene. I'm your host, Aisha Elliott, where each week I give personal advice to help navigate thoughtful vulnerability, prompts for necessary introspection that surely will help align your intention to your impact. Welcome. Hey, y'all. This is your girl, Aisha Elliott, and this is yet another week of Black Girl from Eugene. So, every week I have a hard time trying to think about what to write. I have a hard time thinking about what to say. I have a hard time thinking about a lot of things in terms of helping people in the situation in which we are in, and at the same time knowing that, whatever, any information will be good information. So I'm just hyper aware of where everyone is in the world in terms of just despair. And that none of it is light, none of it's easy to navigate. But I got to be real with you and what's going on in my life and what I can share with you. So before I get started, I'm just going to say thank you to my Patreons and everyone who supports me financially, because that does keep this little bitty podcast going. And everyone, if you like my podcast, you come every week, share it with friends. Please rate it if you can. Leave comments because that will help boost the visibility of the podcast. All right, so without further ado, make it quick and sweet. So, a lot of people are in a really precarious space. And I do say a lot of people, think that this is crazy, but I'm talking about leaving the United States or just, leaving any country that you live in. And I don't know that I've talked about it directly. And, a lot of people ask me questions like, how did you do that? Or how do you do that? Well, first of all, I think we're gonna talk about that today. And I want to just, like I said, it'll be brief, not too long. If you all want more information, am super happy to share it with you. If you've been following my podcast long enough, you know that this is not the first time that I have left the country and that, living abroad is not unfamiliar to me. My family left the United States in, I believe, 1990, I want to say two, maybe it was three, with me. But this is my family, my parents particularly, have been living outside the country for years. They lived in Guyana, they lived in Morocco, they lived in places before I was even born. So it's not the first time that my family has been like, you know what, we're gonna take a minute and just dip. But in my lifetime, you can talk to my older siblings about their experiences in South America and all these. But in my lifetime, my second home was Costa Rica before it was the Costa Rica that you know now. So I have a lot of opinions about moving abroad as Americans and living in and I'm going to air quote American lifestyle in other people's countries. So I mean I have a lot to say about all of this. So we'll talk more about it. But how to do that in a responsible way, I think is really, really important. And how to recognize when you are moving abroad that you are moving abroad. A lot of people feel that it's really kind of fantastical and like fantasy driven. And the truth of it is that your expectations of what life is outside of the United States is just that, your expectations. Of course, yes, it takes money. And also, you have to recognize that when you live in the United States, even the brokest of the broke who are working, we feel we are check to check and we are pushing it. Trust me, I am not foreign to this life. I have plenty of lives myself where I was younger with small kids, broke, no car. This is in the United States, no car. Taking it right there in Eugene, Oregon, taking my kids to school and practices on a bike with a trailer in the snow. Like I recognize having it be dollar to dollar every month, right? Going to school and having SNAP benefits. I have been through it all, right? So I say all this to say that when you decide that you cannot function in the United States and you want just to leave. And I'm not going to judge anybody on that, but I just want to break it down so you don't so that it doesn't feel like it's like, oh, only they can do that because it's just not true. It's really a redirection and reimagination of your funds. If you buy yourself a coffee, yes, I know we need a coffee. We need a coffee. But I'm telling you right now that the cost that you are paying for a coffee in the United States, and I don't care where you are in the United States, it's almost three times as much as you are paying anywhere else. And so I say that to say that you can save money. If it depends on where your priority lies in getting a sense of, I want to say liberty, but really it's not even that. It's just an ability to not feel oppressed, be able to feel safe, right? So that you can think again, so that you can have clarity again, so that your nervous system can regulate on a regular basis. It can actually find a resting place. So nothing has to be fantastical. Saving $1 a week, passports, the pictures cost $15 to $20. You need two, get four. A passport is $110, 130, I think at the most 145 with all the processing fees for one person. An adult passport you can get at any post office. It costs what I just told you, and for an adult, it lasts you 10 years. For a child, you can get it at any age, newborn all the way up. I think a child is under, I want to say 15. Their passports last 5 years. If you are in a different country when your passport needs renewing, you can go to the embassy and get it renewed there. You don't have to come back. So this is a cost. Think about $130. I don't know how much your tennis shoes cost. I don't know how much the registration for sports cost, but I know it ain't like $10, right? You start to add it up. Now people are like, well, shoot, if I'm not going to register for sports, then you're talking about doubling that money. Well, no, I'm talking about rearranging the money. I'm talking about considering placing money in different places so that you can actually prioritize. Now, if you are an adult, let's say you got three people who need a passport, that's a passport a month, right? It lasts 10 years, so you don't have to hurry. Get a passport this month, get the next passport next month. The paperwork, depending on the country, depending on if you can get a visa, depending on what you can do in terms of work, a lot of countries just need you to be able to prove that you have some sort of income. I personally, if you are someone who works like check to check, but has a little savings or something, I wouldn't aim for a country that has a visa, to be honest, because the visa countries are more expensive to get into because you got to pay for the visa. There are plenty of countries that have very low income thresholds for visas, and I'm talking about $1,000 a month that you have to make. Now, if it's like, oh, some countries, like I said, with visas that are requiring work and a particular type of work and permissions and all these type of things, there are so many ways to create that. Your job can also give you permission. They can, I don't know if they will, but if you ask, say, hey, if I could do this job in, let's say, Mexico or Canada or, I don't know, Guatemala, what would I need to do to be able to do this job at a distance? Now, I'm not going to say all your jobs are going to be like, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. But you'd be surprised if you plead your case in terms of identity and danger and safety, you might be able to work something out that you can work from afar. If you do, or you are able to work out such a contract with your job, it's a matter of having your job right, that yes, this person has permission to work and you can just go. There are several countries, several that are nearby the United States that do not require a visa to get there, but you do have to prove that you have some sort of income. So there's that. Okay, do I take all my stuff with me? What do I do? How do I find a place to live? The thing is that it's not the United States. So you're not going to be able to do the same methodology of looking for a house and finding a place and doing all that. You're going to have to connect with people there. You're going to have to connect with whatever country you have and find people who can assist you. And I would start with, depending on your language, depending on how comfortable you are, that you would then connect with people who are verified by other folks who speak your language. Again, I am totally against Americans going to other countries and buying up property. I think it's disgusting. simply because, you're running from colonization to colonize another place. That doesn't make sense. So if you're going to try to be ethical about it, I would rent. I would find people who are actually from the country who are renting, not the same issues that we have in the United States where big corporations or people from other countries have bought up all the land and now are renting it to other foreigners. Therefore, you are suppressing the people or oppressing the people who live there. So let's try to find folks who actually are from the country, who are renting their places, or at least have connections to the rentals in some way. That's actually harder than you think. We are successfully colonizing the world over and over and over and over again. So I'm just trying to make it as ethical as I possibly can. Anyway, so yeah, you'd be surprised what industry, if you haven't ever looked, and I know people on YouTube checking out videos, you'd be surprised. Ask folks who live there, say, who did you use? Who did you really like? And you'll find people that you could never find on YouTube that are really, really reliable. If you've got the money to go visit first, yeah, obviously you want to do visits. I personally am someone who is really super comfortable navigating in places that I'm not totally familiar with, but I can speak the language. So you don't have to be like me. I came sight unseen. But I knew just because I am me, I knew myself well enough to know that I'd be fine. And especially where I ended up living, I knew that safety wise was a huge factor for where I was moving. So I didn't have the fear of being like, having any kind of thing that would be unsafe for me. So that is me. I will say that everything that you need, in no matter what country you have, make sure that your birth certificates are up to date. Make sure that I'm trying to think of other like key. Oh, if you have degrees that would help you find a job in different countries, usually you can't just go to a different country and get a job. You have to get sponsored by an employer there. So the idea is to have either some money saved up or being able to work abroad, like a nomad, like a digital nomad, be able to work digitally. There's that. And then there's just the idea that, like, if you could go to school, students, you guys, like, everyone's really freaking out about just the ability to go to school in the United States. There are so many countries right now who are opening up visas and living quarters and things for students who are trying to get their master's degrees, trying to get their bachelor's degrees, trying to get their PhDs in other countries. You need to apply. I mean, do not think that you are not able to, based on whatever you think is to be true in the United States, apply wherever. There's several countries in Europe that are like, come here, United States students. We know you're getting shut out. Come to Europe. We will pay for your housing. You go to school. I'm just saying this takes courage. Besides the paperwork, besides the money it takes, to get everything apostilled. Apostilled is like a certification from the government. It takes like $10. You have to apostille all of the things that certify you to be who you are so that the other governments can tell that it's an actual legitimate piece of paperwork. It's like you have to send it to the state, Secretary of State, wherever state you're in, to get it apostilled. It's like $10, $12 for your birth certificates, for your job certifications, for your degrees. Again, those are paperwork that you would need for a country that requires a visa. There are other countries that do not. These stays that I'm talking about are like up to, a year, 2 years. The country I went to, because I applied in the country in Europe, is 3 years. So I just want to say, as I'm giving you like the up and up on just putting some money aside, getting pieces, a little piece here and there, you go shopping for some shoes, you can grab some certification for your move, that kind of thing. I personally think the hardest thing cost for me was actually the tickets, like the plane tickets. Everything else was just a matter of time management and organization. I would suggest most people, if depending on where you're moving, but if you're moving to a country that is, I don't even know a country that you would really need to bring everything, because almost everywhere has everything. You know what I'm saying? Everywhere that most people would be moving, unless you're like, I'm trying to live in the mountains with nothing. But if you're trying to live like in a westernized country of any sort, you don't need to bring stuff with you. You just need to bring what's important to you. You really don't. Clothes, depending on the difference in the weather where you're moving. Don't worry about your furniture. Bring the things that are like, I cannot replace them. They are most important to me. Same thing with animals. Bring your animals. Make sure that you have them all vaccinated the way that the country requires. Take your time. Nothing goes fast. anywhere. No sensibility of the United States is anywhere else, but that is exactly what you want. You don't want the United States sensibility. You want people to care about people, which means everything goes a little slower. So I say all that to say this is not an easy situation where you just go, oh yeah, I'm going to do this and I'm going to go. You literally, when you're moving to another country, whether they speak English or they don't, it's not the fantasy like you see on YouTube where people are walking around super cute. Oh, I'm sitting at the cafe. It's not great. Everything is expensive everywhere, right? It's not as expensive as the United States, but it's not like, oh, I'm going somewhere to take advantage of someone else's economy with all of my money. It's not how it works. Not only are you recognizing that the United States economy actually affects everywhere we go. So when things were used to be, €2 and now they're €3 and we're going, oh, well, that's no big deal. The United States dollar is losing value. So €3 is, now $4.50. So it's everything is relative and everything is fluid. But you physically leaving your family, if you can't have everyone come with you, you physically leaving things that you recognize to be true and you know how things work, you know how to pay your light bill, you know how to pay your phone bill, you have a phone, you understand how to register your kids in school. Like that's something we take for granted. So when you move to a new country and you're figuring all those things out, that's hard. You will not feel at home for at least 6 months. And that's if you're trying hard to get in and just be like, this is my home, this is where I'll be for the next couple of years. You will feel out of place. You will feel lonely and discouraged for at least 6 months. And I say that because you are taking yourself into the complete unknown. Even if you knew it, life is not the same. So for those of you who think leaving is privileged, it is. And also it is accessible for those who focus on that access. There's ways to get this done for even the most meager financial setup. I do not have a lot of money. I have put money aside. You see what I'm saying? Luckily for me, I own my own business. I am a relational leadership coach. So I can coach virtually from anywhere, which I do. And I have a lot of different things that I'm involved in that way. I'm a writer as well. So I can write from anywhere. But I just want people to understand that if you don't know how to get access, don't say there is no access. If you don't know how, then please reach out and ask, because I would love to try to figure it out if this is something that you feel is necessary. If you don't feel it's necessary, then I'm really not talking to you, and great, that's amazing. It's not a conversation to go back and forth, and we're not talking about politics in terms of yes, no, should you go. That's not where I'm at. So for those of you who are just like, how could I, is it possible? Where would I go? It really depends on what your capacity for change is at the beginning of your decision, all the way to the completion of the fruition of your decision. It's all about change and managing it spiritually, emotionally, physically, financially. It is all about change and how you meet it. So I hope that this was inspiring to you. I hope that this is encouraging to you. If you've got anything out of this little piece of podcast I left for you today, again, like I said earlier at the beginning, please feel free to drop a review, rate the show 5 stars, share it with your friends, leave information that you may have about moving abroad if you're living abroad at the moment or if you have in the past. I just want to leave this little bit of information to drop. If anyone wants to pick it up, it's for you. If you don't want to pick it up, then please do not. I don't want to stress anybody out. We got enough of that. So yeah, that's what I got to say today for this week's A Black Girl from Eugene. I love you, and I will talk to you again next week. Ciao. Thank you for listening to Black Girl from Eugene. Please subscribe, rate our show, and give a comment. Anything that you have to say and to contribute is welcomed and just helps the podcast grow. We really hope to see you each week. And until then, stay strong, stay connected, and we love you.